Yo guys, what's going on? Today I'm going to be sharing my Facebook ads scaling strategy that went from 0 to 150 grand in 3 months. Okay, I'm not the best dropshipper out there. I'm just sharing my exact strategy that I use for Facebook ads. You can follow anyone's strategy, but I'm just sharing my strategy, guys. So before we start, there's one thing that's very important, which is to follow and stick to one single strategy. Do not be moving between strategies, okay? Some say test 3 creative, some say only do, top 5 countries, some say only do e-packets. Stick to a single one, and if it doesn't work for you, move on to another one. So for day 1 is what we call the testing phase. So what I do is I do 5 ad sets at $10 a day, and I started at 12 a.m. in midnight. Okay, I do not start it during the day because you only have around 10 hours to run those ads, and Facebook cannot properly optimize. You're not giving Facebook enough leeway to optimize for those audiences. All right, so I have tested this before. I have tried 4 p.m. where it's highest traffic time, and Facebook actually only starts the ads at 7 p.m. because it takes around 2 to 3 hours for those ads to actually start warming up and start running. All right, so I like to test at midnight, 12 a.m. Okay. Secondly is I do 1 creative per ad set, because if you're giving 2 to 3 creatives, and it's just really hard to let Facebook optimize. You're giving Facebook too much information. So I only do 1 creative per ad set, 5 ad sets. All right. Those ad sets, of course, will depend on your product and your niche. So thirdly, when you're implementing a thumbnail, that will highly depend on your marketing angle, how you want your product to appear to people. Do you want them to see the product first, or do you want an introduction to it? Usually the thumbnail runs better for me, but depending on your product, you guys want to test that, all right? So yeah, I do automatic placements, I do e-packet countries, and I do 5 million plus audiences. If you guys have suppliers, then I recommend you guys talk to your suppliers saying or asking them whether or not they ship to these specific countries, or sometimes I exclude a few because my supplier is telling me that, okay, I can't ship to these few countries for the temporary time, so I'm not gonna include those in my audiences because there's no point, right? That's day 1, testing phase. All you're trying to do is gather some data, seeing if your product works or not. If it doesn't work, then we move on to a different product. And just a heads up, guys, this is where we lose money, okay? But if it's a winner, then you're gonna get all that money back. I've gone maybe $2,000 to $3,000 down in loss just by testing, but then after a certain time, you start getting a lot of sales, and that just makes everything back, and it makes it all worth it, guys. All right, so day 2 or day 3, that's when we start taking a look at our ads, if you're getting sales or not, if you're getting add to carts, if you're getting purchases. So depending on your budget, you guys want to let it run, for a day or even 2 days. Let it, run for a bit before I start making some decisions whether or not I should kill, or whether or not I should duplicate or scale. So I only follow 1 killing strategy and 1 duplicating strategy, guys. It's not complicated at all. All right, so the killing strategy is whether or not I should kill an ad set and not let it run anymore, stop it from using your budget, is I kill the ad sets which are below your break-even ROAS. Yeah, so kill ad sets which are all below your break-even ROAS. And then also you want to kill ad sets which have no link clicks, no add to carts, checkouts, or purchases within the second day or the third day after spending $20 on an ad set. If it has no clicks, no add to carts, no checkouts, I'm just going to kill it. And then my duplicating strategy is if you have ad sets or a single ad set which is doing well and is above the break-even ROAS, or even 2 to 3 times ROAS, then you need to decide whether or not you want to scale it horizontally or you want to scale it vertically, right? So for those of you who do not know what horizontal or vertical scaling is, vertical scaling is just simply duplicating your ad set a lot of times. So let's say you have an ad set which is doing very well. Let's say you're doing dog products and you have an ad set called dog, right? You're just going to duplicate that 5 times, keeping the budget the same and just letting it run. All right, that's vertical scaling, which works very well actually for winning ad sets for me in my previous experiences. And horizontal ad sets is basically expanding to your audiences and also trying to increase your budget. All right, so normally when I do these scaling methods, I usually do both, and I also increase the budget. I tend to scale very aggressively, and I try to do it very quick because I want to really quickly verify that it's a good product, right? So if I see something's doing well, I really double down on it and put a lot of budget in it, scale it both vertically and scale it both horizontally. But let's say you have 2 similar ad sets which are doing very well and getting good ROAS. Let's say it's dog and dog food, right? Then I would target more ad sets and scale horizontally on those, and target more dog related suggestions and interests. So I would even go for dog groomer, I go for dog magazines. I do a lot of dog stuff, and I'll also increase the budget on those. So you guys need to take a look at your ad sets, analyze which are doing well, which aren't, and then make decisions based on those, right? So now let's move on to the first week, right? So I would usually at this point check my ad sets performance, like the breakdowns, like ages, locations, genders. Take a look at where your purchases are coming from, where where you're getting more clicks, where you're getting less clicks, where you're getting more engagement. Okay, so I take a look at that, analyze, and make decisions based on those observations, guys, because dropshipping is a game of observation and applying those observations, right? If you're getting more sales in Australia and zero sales in the US, then I would maybe double down on Australia for now, and maybe later during your broad targeting, I would target worldwide, or I would target USA then. But this is the phase where you want to gather quality data, where Facebook targets quality people who are buying from you, because ideally you want to get more purchases, and that's going to fire up your pixel for when you then scale more and do broad targeting. Facebook knows which people to target, so then you can target the USA, right? If right now you're not getting any people from USA and you're getting no sales from there, then there's no point, right? So yeah, so right now I would check my CPMs, I would check my CTRs. Okay, so CPMs is cost per 1,000 impressions. So how expensive is it? If it's really expensive, then maybe it's to do with your CTR, because usually there's an inversely proportional relationship between your CTR and your CPM, right? If your CPM is high, then usually your CTR is low. Facebook likes when you have a high CTR, and then they're going to decrease the CPMs for you because there's more engagement on it. People are clicking on it. They like your ad, right? If you have a high CTR, which is, within 100 people, how many people click on your ad? That's what CTR is. If you have a lot of people clicking on your ad, usually a winning CTR for me is usually 2 to 4%. I usually get that. If you get above that, that's amazing. Okay, keep it up, guys. At the end of the day, all you want is purchases. It doesn't matter if you have a low CPM, a high CTR, and no purchases. You want to get those purchases, but ideally you want high CTR, low CPM, a lot of purchases, right? Cost per click, which is CPC, on your budget spend, how many people are clicking on your ads, and cost per checkout, see how many people are checking out, how many people are adding to cart, all right? Analyze your ads from there and make decisions based upon those observations and data that you have gathered, okay? Because you're not only testing the product and trying to make profit here, guys, you're gathering data, using that data to your advantage. Okay, process that data and use that data to make more money. All right, so Facebook ads is not just a game of making money. It's getting information about your audiences, and then based upon that information, making another step, right? It's usually time where you can tell whether or not it's a winner or not. If you're getting low CTR, high CPMs, no sales, then maybe it's the problem with your product selection. Maybe you want to move on to a next product, or it could be a problem with your interest selection. Maybe you're not doing the proper interests, but usually when you've spent 1 week's worth of budget, you'll get at least one sale. So if you don't have a sale at this point, I'd suggest you cut this product and maybe you move on to a different product. All right, so for week 2 is the scaling phase. This is when I actually make the money. Okay, this is when I move on to LLAs and retargeting ads. So what I like to do is look at patterns in my ads. So I look at the data and take a look at what's going on with my ads, right? Is it doing well? It's not doing well. I would kill and keep scaling. I kill all the bad ad sets and always have new ad sets in your campaigns, guys. Do not always have just old ad sets. Always have it refreshed, okay, guys? Keep it running, keep it warm, right? Always have new ad sets in and killing the old ones which aren't doing well. All right, so I like to check it every day at this point and start my scaling phase. So this is the time where I start to actually properly focus and start preparing for scaling. So I like to take a look at my store. If my Facebook ads are doing well, I would focus on my store a bit now and focus on the back end. I would include email marketing like Klaviyo, MailChimp. It all works. I use SMS bump, which is great. You get a really high return on investment on SMS bump because you only put a few dollars in there and they will send SMS messages to your customers who have not bought from you but have checked out. You can create flows there and also include your upsells, post upsells or pre-upsells. I usually include the Suite Upsell app on my store. Upsells make a lot of percentage of your sales, guys. So do not look down on upsells. Do not look down on email marketing. Email marketing is like free, guys. Do not look down on SMS bump, okay? Having a very solid backend foundation. I also like to focus on the logistics part of dropshipping, which is having a good friendship and a bond between you and your supplier, maybe negotiating lower prices or even trying to buy inventory and shipping it to the US, at a 3PL or something like that. It's very important that you cut costs at this level, which is going to increase your profits at the later scales. Right, so this is where you scale to the moon. You start scaling both horizontally and vertically very aggressively. I use 5 times or even 10 times my daily budget at this point. When I have this winner, when I'm getting sales in, I'm going to scale very aggressively. I'm also going to test other and new similar interests, maybe consider expanding to broad targeting. And this is one campaign, guys. I'm gonna create another campaign which I include lookalikes, retargeting, okay? So if you have more than 100 purchases or maybe 150 to 200 purchases, I would do lookalike audiences. If you guys want me to do a separate video on lookalike audiences, I'll be glad to do that, guys. I make lookalike audiences, 0 to 10%, of course, and I also make, video views, checkouts, add to carts, lookalike audiences based on that. And I'll also include retargeting. And for retargeting, usually picture ads work very well for me. But depending on you guys can do videos or you can do pictures. So I include two separate campaigns. One which is testing new interests and scaling both vertically and horizontally, and a separate campaign which is incorporating lookalike audiences and also retargeting. Usually the second campaign does it a lot better because you're testing to warm audiences who have already seen your product and interacted with your ad, rather than cold interests. So I test those two out, right? So this is the final stage, guys. This is where you have to make the most important decision of your dropshipping life, which is to either dip or to dominate. All right, so what does this mean? What does dip and dominate mean? Well, you have two options. It's either that you leave your store, because sometimes after a certain amount of time of running ads and actually getting a lot of sales, your product, you'll find that it will start to die down. Okay, you're gonna start getting less sales. You're gonna start being unprofitable, and for months, maybe you're running ads for like a few weeks now, and you're unprofitable for a few weeks, regardless of whether you have a lot of data and a lot of good ads, Adsets, lookalike audiences. Maybe it's just a product which is dying down and people are getting bored of your product, or it's not a trend anymore. This is the time where you consider dipping and just leaving your store and going to another product. Or this is where you decide to dominate. If it's doing really well, if it's going well, guys, it's your lookalikes are doing well, everything is going according to plan, you're profiting consistently every single day, then you have to take it to the next step. Okay, do not just stick at that level of plateau forever, right? You got to increase that opportunity, right? This is to dominate. So buy inventory, ship it to a 3PL in the US to get faster shipping times and to get your feedback score higher on Facebook. This will encourage more people to buy your products. So I would start to consider starting an LLC or a sole proprietorship business. Having a brand for yourself, brand your packages, brand your products. This is when you start to take it to the next level, start incorporating Google SEO, and start to incorporate different methods of marketing like Google ads, Snapchat ads, even paying influencers on Instagram. Okay, this is where you incorporate a lot of different marketing strategies to advertise your store. Okay, so yeah, this is my scaling strategy for Facebook ads. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to my channel if you guys want more dropshipping tips. See you guys in the next video.